Yep, we are live and ready, Madam Chair. Oh, yeah.
I'd like to call to order the Seldovia Planning Commission regular meeting on Wednesday, October 6th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Um,
Is that all right?
yes, sorry. I just had a moment. Remind me how to pronounce your last name. I'm so sorry.
Ryan.
We just talked about it, but I'm
Yes.
having a moment today. Miss Ryan,
Yes. Present.
Mr. Forsberg,
Here.
Mr. Dietrich.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is approval of the agenda. Will anybody make a motion to do so?
Move to approve the agenda. So we were-
Can I second that? All right.
I second it too. Third it.
Okay. Any discussion? Anybody have a discussion or any objections?
I do not.
So I guess we'll have the roll call vote on the agenda.
Miss Ryan,
Yes, I agree.
Mr. Forsberg,
Yes.
and Mr. Dietrich.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So now we're moving on to item D, approval of minutes from August 4th, 2021. So those are in the packets. So we'll need a motion to approve the minutes.
I approve the motion for approving the minutes. That looks good to me. We'll go through all of it.
Second.
Now there's a motion and a second. So any discussion?
It's basically just what we went over from that last meeting, right?
Right.
Everything about-
Yep.
No, I don't have any.
So roll call vote, please.
Okay, Miss Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Forsberg,
Yes.
and Mr. Dietrich.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Right. So then item E, public comments regarding items not on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda?
Not seeing any hands raised at this time.
So I guess we can move on to item F then. And there's none, so we just move right through these. Okay. Item G, there are no considerations of site plans. Item H, commission business. Item 1, preliminary plats submittal, Seldovia East Town Site Edition, Watson 2021 replat. Presented by staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize. This should have been a consideration of site plan, but it will still work under this spot here in the packet. So on page 8, we had a submittal from surveyor Kenton Bloom, who is on the online there to answer any questions that might come up for a preliminary replat. You can see there's a line on the southeastern boundary that's going to be removed and add a line more on the northeastern boundary there. I hope you guys can all see that clearly. When speaking with surveyor Mr. Bloom, he said the following is the reasoning for the replat. Sorry, the owner wants to subdivide the property in order to sell the lower house that is located on the waterfront lot 2B2. And just to hopefully make sure that we are crossing all our T's and dotting all our I's, I wrote up a memo on page 9 that has it has gone through the waterfront commercial residential, which is where this lot is located. And the requirements for that district, it's a permitted use because both lots are residential, which is a permitted use. Minimum lot width, there's none for that the district that's established, but it does have requirements that are supposed to be met for parking, open space, natural area, and setback standards. You can see we went through each of those requirements below, and it seems to be meeting all of the requirements listed. Access, it is not on a street lot, so access is granted through easement. And this, through Mr. Bloom, we were reassured that that easement will remain in perpetuity to the next owner, so that there's still access to those lots. I also included the replat from those same properties in 2006, just so you guys can see where that line was previously, and correspondence with Mr. Bloom. Just verifying a few of those questions that I had for the requirements of the district. There's one more piece of correspondence that I received afterwards, just verifying that the setbacks are indeed, the shortest one is 31.4 feet from the southwest building corner to the property line, and 38.8 feet from the southeast building corner to the property line. So even with the new replat, the setbacks will be met. And if you guys approve that, then you can, after discussion, when you make a motion, and then if there's any findings that you have, like, you know, because the setbacks are met, or, you know, access, there's still access and perpetuity, you know, things like that, you can include that after your motion, and that will go to the borough for your recommendation. Thank you. And if you would like to hear from Mr. Bloom, he is on the line.
There's no one from the public here to speak on this item. But comments of the commission regarding this?
I don't have anything, everything I looked at, it's pretty cut and dry, not really changing anything except for the property line. Buildings are there. These any existing right of ways. I don't know.
Got anything, Roger, to add? Or-
No, I know that, I know both those places pretty good. I'm friends with the owner. And I know that that surveyor has definitely gone over it several times, which way to go and how to split it up and stuff. So everything to me looks good as far as setbacks. So yeah, I think it's a pretty laid out plan with that easement for everybody to get up to their parking lots.
Yeah, I guess that's all the only concern I have is that that easement is in place and it says it is. Turn that. So the next step then, what are the wishes of the commission? We need to decide whether to approve this. Okay. So we need a motion, I guess, about that. We should approve this later preliminary. plat.
Yeah, I approve it. I mean, I motion to approve it. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Second it. Second the motion.
So if we'll have a roll call vote.
Miss Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Forsberg,
Yes.
and Mr. Dietrich.
Yes.
Motion passes. And thank you so much for joining us, Kenton.
And nice seeing you all. Enjoy your evening.
So their findings that we would include with this decision, with all that, the stuff that you brought forward in this packet, would you include with that, just so that the borough has that information as well?
Yes, that's an excellent idea. I'll just make sure to include the memo.
Might as well. then
Okay.
You don't have to ask. for it, right?
That's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
Okay, now we're up to our favorite task. The comprehensive plan review. And we'll have a presentation by the staff.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm just gonna pull that up real quick.
So I do have just a question here.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Can we turn that down?
Yes.
It's really loud.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay. Let me just pull this up here. This is our last section. Yay.
Really, just one?
Yeah, just Probably not too long. I'm gonna pull it up and screen share it, Roger, so let us know if you don't see it in just a minute. Pull it here. Okay. So our last review section of the comprehensive plan is on the environment. And you'll see that here's the goals. Goal 1, maintain local stewardship over vital land and water resources. Goal 2, develop land and water resources for economic benefit while minimizing adverse local impacts. And goal 3, take advantage of diverse recreational opportunities. And that's the 3. So we can go through it hopefully fairly quickly. You've seen the agenda to review the plan, evaluate how those goals compare to relevant actions, policies, synergies, and contingencies. And then in the end, we'll work on synthesizing the recommendations for council consideration. Of course, the assumptions are not new. Let me make that smaller. And environment, goal 1, as stated before, maintain local stewardship over vital land and water resources. And those 3 sub goals are listed. So to start, focus area, act locally and regionally to ensure continued local access to and influence over fishery resources. And these are the same actions, synergies, policies as listed before. So we'll just read them out real quick. The city successfully constructed a new water treatment plant. The plant currently exceeds the water usage needs of the community. This is partly due to the plant being based on a water demand increased by leaks in the water distribution system. So the city has since buttoned up those leaks, and now we are exceeding our water usage with an abundance of water. Improvements could be maintained regarding the city's surface transportation network. Outside Beach, Wilderness Park, Otterbound Trail, and Rocky Ridge Trail are maintained by a volunteer effort in order to retain and extend their value. City is working on a land use management plan this year. City has not made recent land acquisitions in order to protect iconic local attractions and open spaces. And here we go. It says it again. City does not have a watershed annexation and control plan. Sylvania City Council is working on a land use management plan in 2021. The city zoning code has been updated, Title 18. The city has limited capacity to actively offer pre-development services. Staff are available to assist in meetings. The city relies on public to inform staff of enforcement issues, as staff have limited capacity to proactively do this. Once the city is aware of the enforcement issue, action is taken. The city has limited capacity to work through a voluntary service area annexation. Seldovia has a mutual agreement with Barbara Heights Volunteer Fire Department, an agreement with KBB Sursa for the SOC, and an agreement with the Troopers for Public Safety. The city's membership with SOS assists the city with environmental risks reduction. The city made a lot of progress on removing derelict boats in 2019. The city has an easement with the University of Alaska for the Rocky Ridge Trail, which could assist in enhancing backcountry access. Seldovia does not have a comprehensive tourism strategy. Seldovia does not have a collaborative economic strategy. The city could improve its relationship with NOAA, UAF, and other partners to activate the Kachemak Bay Laboratory Campus and Research Reserve Facility on a year-round basis. The city will work with the Kenai Peninsula Borough to enhance available land data and update maps. Little to no progress has been made on correcting property surveys. The city is a supporting member of SOS, works with the KPB Office of Emergency Management for emergency preparedness, and aspires to have monthly staff meetings on emergency response. The city has not explored options for a robust new community system. There has not been enough demand for regional road connections. There has not been enough demand for progress regarding Seldovia Bay and Jackloff Bay water control. The city has not explored options for establishing a local energy cooperative or utility. The city does sponsor a letter of support to Seldovia Fuel and Lube to assist in lowering the cost of fuel through participation in the state of Alaska bulk fuel loan program. Hopefully you guys have all had a chance to read the questions for this focus area based on those actions, policies, synergies, and contingencies recommended below. And we'll get just a minute and discuss those.
Sorry, I didn't do my homework as well as I should. It's a rating 1 to 4, 1 to 5, I mean.
Yes, 1 to 5, 5 being amazing, 0 to 5, 0 being not at all. Okay, you ready? Okay. Ms. Ryan?
So we just give our score now and talk about it later. Is that how we-
Yeah, you give your score and then talk about it if you want, or
Okay.
Yeah.
So I rated the one about fishery resources 3, the next one 1, and the next one 1. And it seems like the things that were talked about, these different synergies and actions and things, really didn't say specifically to the fishery resource. There was a lot of doing things that would help the fishery resource if you know,
Mhm.
it didn't specifically call that out. And similar to the scenic land resource, I think that one is because of the plan that's getting started. I gave it at least a 1 because that could be addressed in the plan, the land management plan.
Mm.
And I didn't hear anything about the watershed management I was trying to look through there to see if there's watershed management effort. I don't think there was anything mentioned on that one.
I didn't see mention of it either, but there is a watershed plan. I would have to look at what it's called exactly, but that was put into place just in the last year or two.
Okay.
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Dietrich?
I give it a 2, a 2, and a 1.
And Mr. Forsberg?
I gave it a, I gave it a 4, 2, and a 2. And the first part about the influence over the fishery resource, they were going to cut off that planting of fish up the end of the slough there. This last year was going to be the last year, and I think we had enough influence where from what I understand, they're going to continue it. So that's, to me, that's big. I live right next to the river. Not that I do much fishing, but there's definitely a lot of draw to go out to the bridge there and do a little fishing. So I think we did have a little influence over stopping that, hopefully, for a while.
If I might add on that, who talked to the fishing game about continuing that? Was that a city input to fishing game, or was that local residents fishing game?
I think it was a combination of
Combination.
both. Yes.
That's
this-
what I thought. I didn't
yeah.
know if the city had did anything,
Right.
but I know
Yeah,
I called, and there were several people I know that called and say, hey, this is.
yeah,
this is a
this,
big- One of the cool reasons of living here is having that. So it was-
yeah, the city did write letters in support, and I think the council did as well.
Yeah,
that's why I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So,
There was definitely a lot of support for that.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay,
I just noticed that this year. So. That's all I had.
I think we're losing you, Roger. Hmm.
How about now?
Okay, we've got you back.
Oh, okay. I can hear you guys.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. Maybe if you take off your video, it'll make it so you have less bandwidth. Sometimes that helps. If you
Take
want.
off what now?
If you just turn off your video.
Take what
sometimes-
off now?
If you turn your video off, sometimes that'll help so that you're not using as much bandwidth.
So that's that little picture in the corner.
Yep.
Okay, how about now?
Nope, we can still see you, so I'm not sure if you got the right picture. It should be like a little camera and you just click on it and it'll. But you're coming through fine now,
Okay.
so
All right.
are you guys ready to carry on?
yes.
Okay. So this is focus area 2, develop land and water resources for economic benefit while minimizing adverse local impacts. And it has that same or similar goals or focus areas, act locally and regionally to ensure continued local access to and influence over fishery resources, evaluate resource-dependent development proposals for negative environmental impact and mitigate to the degree practical, ensure that projects or activities that create adverse local impacts be responsible for their mitigation, potentially including direct compensation to those impacted. And so for goal 2, the small boat harbor was improved in 2014. The boat haul out could be improved to increase income and or expand employment in the marine related fields. The city has been unable to leverage a key waterfront parcel in a win-win relationship with private enterprise. The city has explored fuel sales and renegotiated the lease with Soldovia Fuel and Lube. The city also secured a grant to construct the value-added building in order to support fishing marine support services. Improvements could be maintained regarding the city's surface transportation network. The historic boardwalk needs maintenance and improvements could be made for water access to enhance public enjoyment of the slough. Outside Beach, Wilderness Park, Audubon Trail, and Rocky Ridge Trail are maintained by volunteer effort in order to retain and extend their values. Jackloff Dock needs rehabilitation and improvement. Council has budgeted for improvements of the dock in FY '22. City is working on a land use management plan this year. The city does not have a watershed annexation and control plan. Soldovia City Council is working on a land use management plan in 2021. The city zoning code has been updated, Title 18. The city relies on the public to inform staff of enforcement issues as staff have limited capacity to proactively do this. Once the city is aware of an enforcement issue, action is taken. Soldovia has a mutual aid agreement with Barber Heights Volunteer Fire Department, an agreement with KPB Sursa for the stock, and an agreement with the troopers for public safety. The city's membership with SOS assists the city with environmental risk reduction. The city made a lot of progress on removing derelict boats in 2019. The city has not been in touch with the state regarding an emergency landing lighting system for the airport. The city has an easement with the University of Alaska for the Rocky Ridge Trail, which could assist in enhancing backcountry access. Soldovia does not have a comprehensive tourism strategy. Soldovia does not have a collaborative economic strategy. The city could improve its relationship with NOAA, UAF, and other partners to activate the Catchment Bay Laboratory Campus and Research Reserve Facility on a year-round basis. The city will work with Kenai Peninsular Borough to enhance available land data and update maps. Little to no progress has been made on correcting property surveys. The city has not explored new accommodations in housing, including rentals and affordable units to serve local needs and flexible models that increase visitor capacity year-round. The city is a supporting member of SOS, works with the KBB Office of Emergency Management for emergency preparedness, and aspires to have monthly staff meetings on emergency response. The city has not explored options for a robust new community system. Progress, little to none on waterfront truck route and secondary airport route. There has not been enough demand for regional road connections. There has not been enough demand for progress regarding Soldovia Bay and Jackloff Bay water control. The city has not explored options for establishing a local energy cooperative or utility. The city does sponsor a letter of support to Soldovia Fuel and Lube to assist in lowering the cost of fuel through their participation in the state of Alaska bulk fuel loan program. And once again, you'll rate these three sections, a 0 to 5 for goal to focus area. Are we ready? Okay. Well, how about Mr. Dietrich?
So I gave it a 2, a 1, and a 1. Reading over these, I know, I like that small boat harbor was approved. I mean, after that, as far as acting locally and regionally, I mean, I'm not seeing much else out there besides improving docks. I think fisheries are huge in the city, and we need to try to do as much as we can to, help local access to them and continue hopefully bringing something back to Shelbyville, which was a great fishing destination and commercial and private. So I didn't see really anything evaluate resource dependent development proposals for negative environmental impact. I mean, talking about it, but there's not much. Clicking in my mind. Ensure the projects or activities that create adverse local impacts be responsible for their mitigation, potential including direct compensations of those impacted. I don't think we really have any projects to cause any impacts on anybody. So, missing something. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Forsberg?
I gave it a 3, 2, and 2. From all the stuff the goals that haven't been met. So there definitely, we need some input, I guess, from the different people. Yeah, that's about all I had. Definitely need improvement on all fronts.
Thank you. And Ms. Ryan?
Yeah, I put 3 for that first one, and then I was writing NA for the other two,
Right.
because unless there's something more outside of these action item things that the city has done or that has development proposals, they're just, I don't know that that's been many years, but
We keep talking about it. I don't know if that's bring private business in here or something.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I guess, it's the tower went through. I don't know if that's a very small development proposal. Would that be considered? And so it went through the commission and would that be an example? I guess it's pretty minor though.
Well, I think that's a great example of something that potentially could have a negative environmental impact. But it was reviewed and they do a lot of studies and have a lot of
Research dependent,
guidance.
when they say that research is dependent, they're talking about like the fishery or like at a rock quarry or something somewhere. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could, I mean, you think about the Soldovia's past and its history. It was big in logging for a while, had the chromium mine up at Red
Right, but
Mountain.
is the statement just on within the city boundary? Right?
Yeah.
Or is it the whole area, which it kind of keeps coming up, I guess. but
Yeah,
it's the plan.
It's just the city.
I guess it would be just the
'Cause it-
city. Yeah.
Right, because the plan does talk about the whole area. So it'd be good maybe to clarify that plan. Is it for just the city or is it for the whole area?
I'm making that as a note because our next conversation is going to be how to present it to
Right,
council. And that's a
yeah.
great statement. Would be
Yeah.
good to clarify.
We focus on the
If-
city, we focus on
if-
everything in Shelbyville.
Yeah,
and the
focused
area.
on the
That's a
city.
good point.
Yeah, it's a great point. Okay,
If we only say anything after the-
so we are gonna move to the next section if everybody's ready. Goal 3, focus area, take advantage of diverse recreational opportunities. Oops. I don't think there's 5 focus areas here, so just with those 5 in mind, supporting local based tourism, create visitor-friendly walking routes and public spaces, increase and monitor public access to scenic resource areas, facilitate recreational use of the water for residents and visitors with easy access to non-motorized boat launches, waterfront trails, and other amenities. And explore opportunities for increased recreational use of surrounding land and water areas, including adventure activities, guided tours, excursions, and enterprises that attract recreational and sightseeing visitors. So with those in mind, the city dock can still maintain AMHS ferry services. The small boat harbor was improved in 2014. The city has explored fuel sales and renegotiated the lease with Solovia Fuel and Lube. The city also secured a grant to construct the value-added building in order to support fishing marine support services. The city, in partnership with volunteer fire and EMS crew, continues to operate a basic level of service regarding emergency response. Sylvania Police Department is an essential service provided by the city. The city successfully constructed a new water treatment plant. The plant currently exceeds water usage needs of the community. This is partly due to the plant design being based on a water demand increased by leaks in the water distribution system. The historic boardwalk needs maintenance and improvements could be made for water access to enhance public enjoyment of the slough. The scenic byways pavilion was constructed and a volunteer effort will hopefully be arranged to ensure its maintenance. Outside Beach, Wilderness Park, Otterbond Trail, and Rock Ridge Trail are maintained by a volunteer effort in order to retain and extend their value. Jack Bluff Dock needs rehabilitation and improvement. Council has budgeted for improvements of the dock in FY22. City is working on a land use management plan this year. City has not made recent land acquisitions in order to protect iconic local attractions and open spaces. The city and Seldovia Chamber of Commerce have been recognizing community volunteers. Seldovia City Council is working on a land use management plan in 2021. The city could look into exploring incentive-based tax structures. The city has limited capacity to work through a voluntary service area annexation. The city needs to improve work regarding historic preservation and cultural heritage. The city's membership with SOS assists the city with environmental risk reduction. The city made a lot of progress on removing derelict boats in 2019. The city consistently advocates for sustainable AMHS service through state delegation and advocacy through Alaska Municipal League. The city has not been in touch with the state regarding an emergency landing lighting system for the airport. Progress little to none on Seldovia Street, Anderson Way, Jackaloff Bay Road upgrade and multi-use trail. The city has an easement with the University of Alaska for the Rocky Ridge Trail, which could assist in enhancing backcountry access. The city assists in the management of the SOC, which does actively support youth and family. Seldovia does not have a comprehensive tourism strategy. The city consistently advocates for sustainable AMHS. The city has not been in touch with the state regarding an emergency landing. Progress little to none on Anderson Way. I feel like we just read these ones. City has an easement with the University of Alaska, we manage a SOC, and we do not have a comprehensive tourism strategy. The Planning Commission, City of Seldovia approved a telecommunications tower in 2021. The city and SVT are actively working together to improve telecommunications in Seldovia and is a top 2021 priority for Seldovia City Council. The city will work with the Kenai Peninsula Borough to enhance available land data and update maps. Little to no progress has been made on correcting property surveys. The city has not explored new accommodations and housing, including rentals and affordable units to serve local needs and flexible models that increase visitor capacity year-round. Progress little to none on waterfront truck route and secondary airport route. There has not been enough demand for regional road connections. So here is our 5 areas, focus areas. I'm going to just take a peek at that and give it a rating. Are you guys ready? Okay. Let's do Mr. Forsberg first this time.
I've rated 3, 4, 4, and 4, 4. And let's see. About the creating friendly walking routes and public spaces, I think we got quite a bit of that stuff. And there's boat launches all over the place as far as if you want to throw a canoe in the water. Also, in the wintertime, like Susan Lake, there's they play hockey on it. They ski around it. There's a lot of times you'll see a cross-country ski track all the way around it. And also, as far as skiing, you can go up from here, from behind the state building, or the state maintenance building, going up the hill up to the reservoir up there. That's during the winter. That's some excellent skiing. It was very busy there last year, so I think there's quite a bit of stuff that's out there.
Thank you. Ms. Ryan?
Yeah, I gave everyone a 3, just right down the middle. There are some good trails. Again, this sort of is really there with the whole, is it the city land, the city proper, or the area? So that'll be a good one to address in the letter. And so locally based tourism operations, we had Scott Ogan was really trying to get something going, and the city was supporting that. So I see that was really tried to happen with using that road that Roger's talking about. It just didn't work out with the airport, right?
Right.
And then, yeah, so we're right in the middle. Like, there could be a lot more done here in the city, but yeah, it's good. It's a wonderful place to live. That's why I'm here.
Thank you. And Mr. Dietrich?
I give it a 2, 3, 2, 4, 3. Well, number 1, increase and monitor public access to scenic resources. I mean, we get people here. I don't know if we monitor them, but I mean, there are. I don't know if you want to do that, but just get people here. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know why that's great. Visitor friendly walking routes. I do love all the trails around here we have access to in the city. My biggest thing is always the city right here, the main road right here. That's a safety concern for me, because I've had many kids run out coming down, people walking down the middle of the road. It's just, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. That's my only, if you can keep people on one side, like I suggested last time, maybe paint a stripe, please walk here, anything. Because, I hate to see somebody get hit. Maybe even creating a speed limit during the summer at, 10 miles an hour from the SVT building down past the city dock, something like that, even, just to, because most people are pretty good about driving around here, but some people, put the rear. The only one that was just road safety right here. Locally based tourism operations. I know we have the ferries that come in and out and help. I don't see anything about supporting. Like Mr. Forsberg said, we have plenty of ramps for water access and trails and amenities. I think the city is easy on that. People want to put a boat in the water or pull a boat out, they have plenty of access for that. And explore opportunities for increased recreation use of surrounding land and water areas. Yes, I think we need to do that, and also come up with some kind of comprehensive plan to bring more tourists here, because this is quickly becoming a tourist destination. That's kind of which drives our economy now, as far as what I see, because fishing is way important. So, that's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, that's the review. That's our last section.
Now, we need to draft a letter that summarizes our findings and present that to the city council. I guess what that stuff is.
Yeah, so that would be item 3. If you guys don't have any action taken, which we haven't on any of these, and you want to move down to the next step, as long as there isn't anything further for this discussion, I'd be more than happy to present on the next steps.
Oh, I skipped ahead. Sorry about that.
No,
Yeah,
you're
I
doing
would like to
great.
hear about that.
Okay, so we're on item 3 then. Is that where we're going? Okay. So there's a memorandum from the city manager who, sorry, she can't be here. She is in a great educational opportunity conference, an international conference with our city managers down south. So she couldn't miss that opportunity. But she did write a memorandum just referring to the next steps regarding 2014 Sylvia comprehensive plan review. It gives a little background and then it talks about the next steps. And if you don't mind, I'd love to read these questions to you because I think it helps just to have all the questions in mind and then be able to have that discussion. Because the goal is to be able to formulate that recommendation in a letter form that one of the commission members can present to the council. So just like that takeaway of it'd be great to clarify if the focus was on the city proper or the whole area. Those kind of takeaways from these last several months would be great. So with that in mind, the questions, and I just left the presentation up on the screen so that we're getting it both ways. Is that some, and of course, there may be more questions or you don't have to answer them all, but this is just to get some thought flowing, is what were your main takeaways as a result of reviewing the comprehensive plan and reviewing how the planning commission members scored the city's performance on a scale of 0 to 5 for each of the 5 sections? Are there any trends you notice? Oh, and I'm sorry, I should also point out that besides this section on page 44 and on is those ratings and findings. So you'll see starting on page 45, each element and then each goal and each rating is listed. So that's a great way to look at if there's any trends where things are scored high or low. For instance, goal 2 of transportation looks like it's got some fairly low scores, whereas goal 3 might have some higher ones. But just an overall takeaway. So back to our questions. And that was question 2 in reviewing how the planning commission scored the city's performances on a scale of 0 to 5. Are there any trends? In terms of implementing the recommendations of the comprehensive plan, what has the city done well? What could the city improve on? Are there any projects or ideas mentioned in the plan that you would recommend Sylvia City Council prioritize for the next fiscal year? Just keep also, that's a great one because the council does set a list of priorities annually. It was done the first time this last year, but that's a trend that will continue because that really helps guide staff and the city forward. So just to bring that relevance back, that what you guys are doing really is going to impact what the council does and how the city moves forward. It sets those motions or those that path in place. Are there any projects or ideas mentioned? Oh yeah, we did that one. Are there any projects or ideas that you would recommend the city address right now? Like, is there anything immediately? Was there anything missing in the plan that you would recommend the city community should have addressed in the comprehensive plan? The city is developing its first ever land use management plan. Are there items in the comprehensive plan that you think the Sylvia City Council should incorporate into that land use management plan? What are other recommendations do you have for the Sylvia City Council to consider and just really anything else. And so hopefully that helps stimulate a great conversation on what you would like to present to council. There's two others questions just a little bit lower. It says, aside from your recommendation to be provided to council, we would also greatly appreciate the commission's insight on what would be a sustainable way to ensure the comprehensive plan is reviewed and taken into consideration on an annual basis. And what would be a format or method you would recommend in order to make this review happen? The first review was a heavy lift, and you may have other methods to process the city would benefit from considering, because I know this was kind of difficult. So thank you guys.
Hmm. Did you want some comments on it or what? Are we still thinking?
Yeah, if you have something to share.
Yeah, the only thing, a lot of these projects, I was wondering, is there grant programs out there for, to pay for some of this stuff? Maybe somebody could research that, it'd be nice to get a lot of this stuff done, but you gotta have resources to do it and stuff, so maybe some grant programs out there, maybe, hopefully.
A main takeaway that I have for this comprehensive plan is that it's very comprehensive. It covers a big, that question of, I was just right on page 1, it talks about the planning area and regional context. So they did try to adjust that the plan applies to municipal activities within the city of Selovia's boundaries. It also considers and addresses the city's role as regional center in the broader settlement area. So it's trying to do both. That takeaway is like, it makes it, it's committing the city to things that are outside its scope, kind of. That's it. That's the main takeaway.
Yeah, I agree with that one, because a lot of times when we're talking here, I'm thinking all of Seldovia, not just city proper sometimes. Need input from other players before we do that. Some control areas out there. What do they want? We can't make plans here for people who don't live here in the city proper. It's in our role. The city dock, the city itself, the outside beach, Jackalope Bay, areas like that. I think the city just needs to focus on increasing tourism as much a problem any way they can, because I think that is the way the city's going. I'd love to have fishing come back if there's any way we can do that. The value added building, anything we use of that, it's kind of sitting there empty and unused. The historical value of this village as a city, as a fishing home was huge for years, and I'd love to see somebody come back, because there's a lot of people who live here that are going to need jobs, kids, and if we want the city continuing, we're going to think about the future big time.
Is there a reason that the city itself is so little compared to like many other cities in Alaska? Like Sitka is this huge thing, it covers Baranof Island or something. It's these big areas, whereas Selovia is this really small little thing. But everybody that lives on the road system comes into town and uses the city. So it seems maybe it should be bigger.
And a lot of times they want to have influence over what happens in the city. They don't. argument over our police officer. Going,
Right, yeah,
that's not his job.
Right.
He's here for the city of Sylvania, not for everywhere out here. So, I mean, there's cut and dry what it is. What are we trying to do? We're trying to Sylvania, bring fishermen here, tourism here. Are we trying to help everybody in the local region? I mean, absolutely, we should help everybody we can, but definitely a cut right. What are we trying to focus on here? 2 square miles of Sylvania or the 15 square miles of everything all the way up to Jericho.
Yeah, and the city, they own or they control the outside beach campground. The city owns that, right?
yeah.
Yeah, correct. The city owns outside beach and the RV park.
In
But
that people are thinking,
Right.
Yeah.
And Jack.
And then, and Jack,
Yeah, the dock,
Oh,
not
the
the uplands. Some people get that confused, but the city just has the dock and is working on,
the access road is that the city?
it's an easement through that, but, and they're working on obtaining the tidelands right now, because when they received the dock, they didn't receive the tidelands with it, so. That'll help with the process of maintaining and charging fees or whatever they need to do in the future to continue to maintain that dock.
right.
I think,
And then
go ahead.
what about the dam up there? Who owns that?
So the
Is
city
that
owns,
leased or?
nope, the
What?
city owns the reservoir as well. We have
Okay.
the watershed rights up there in the reservoir.
So all these things are kind of outside of what you think of as the city of Sylvania.
Oh, yeah, and
Yeah,
one more thing
dam.
just to throw out there is cemetery, because I've been working on that
Oh,
recently. That's also owned by the city and outside of the city.
No, yeah.
Does anybody know why that is? Well, maybe it doesn't really matter, but to move forward, we should, unless there's it just
That-
really struck me as odd that the helicopter business is like, sort of like, they found the place that was just outside the city, the big Aerotech.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
right next to the airport, but it's not on city land. So
Mhm.
that would be a big source of revenue. This is interesting where those lines are, and I know there would be resistance because nobody wants to have to pay
Mhm.
taxes, more taxes. But it would
Yeah.
spread.
Yeah, we don't have water or sewer
think
out
they
there either.
stopped. What's that?
We don't have water or sewer out there either. I don't believe out that direction on the airport and stuff.
But there's a lot of cities where water system isn't. I mean, there's different districts where you might have a different tax rate if you're in the water system or out of it.
Oh, okay.
I think that could- Anyhow, so I have a project or idea that would recommend the city do ASAP would be the tourism strategy or some kind of tourism planning, like you're saying, forward thinking on what it is. There's one recommendation in the plan that came up over and over about more planning, yeah, which can be planning, you get stacks of plans, but like you're saying, the management plan is underway, and then there was a couple others that this document suggested be done. But it was a tourism strategy, I think is one. I
Mhm.
don't know if recreation is another one.
No, but
Probably-
that's not a bad suggestion.
It's kind of tied together.
So maybe even a tourism and recreation.
Absolutely. How do we keep
I noticed, oh, sorry.
Mhm.
I seen they had highway strips out there, those lines they run across the highways to see how many people are going across it. Has anybody heard if they're planning on maybe resurfacing those? The main street and then the one that heads out towards Jackwalk?
I have not heard anything on that for resurfacing, but they did do a big resurfacing project. What was that, just last year and the year before?
Right,
Remember, they came and did all that topsoil work, so
Yeah. Well,
not
I meant
sure.
Blacktop, right down, in the city itself, the main street there.
Oh, yeah, so
it?
Main Street here and Sylvia Street, Anderson Street behind us, or behind me here in the building are state. So
Mhm.
that's something that we would have to ask them if there's any plan to resurface it, and I can make a note of that to ask.
Definitely be an improvement.
Yeah.
Maybe look what the lines in for safety is, or, walk here.
I made that note too. I loved it when you said it. Just sorry, I shouldn't say that either, but I was like, that was a good, they're all great suggestions, but I definitely made a note of that one, like paint a stripe. Is how easy. Okay, so that's kind of your guys' main takeaways. We've got a ASAP project. And any long-term projects, it seems like tourism is the focus, but also using the value-added building. We're hearing that. How do we use that? How do we support our fishery and or the people fishing here? And let's see here. Any trends noticed if you guys look at how everything was scored? And anything missing in the plan?
Well, it's kind of a trend. Plan element 4, community and human resources, that seemed to have some of the highest scores. There's 4s and 5s on.
And which one was that?
Community and human resources. Plan element 4, it's on page 50 of these, the review of the numbers, scores. Like I've had higher ratings. So. I don't know if this applies, but the second time we had to meet with this, I made this little sheet here, which is all of these actions, policies, synergies, and contingencies. And then I went through each of these plan elements to see which ones were used most often.
Oh,
It's kind of, and it was the action item 13, this high one, policy, it was action item, okay, A13, and then policy number 2, synergy 6 and 7, and contingency 3. So those all had scores of 15, 17. They were mentioned 15 or 17 times throughout all these different things that we went through, all these different elements. So they kept coming up as things that needed to get done. So it seems like that would be a way to focus efforts, potentially. Plus, when I look back at what those are, let's see. So action 13 is public space inventory and enhancement program. So you know where all your land is and what to do with it. And then policy number 2 was city asset use management and disposal guideline. That's kind of goes along kind of with that. But that one also got used over and over again. 6 and 7 was the tourism strategy and economic strategy. And this contingency number 3 got a lot of votes, but it's the waterfront truck route and secondary airport route, which I just don't see happening for, I don't know, ever, because I've heard the easement that would be needed to do that, where that little bridge is now by Aerotech. I think that's where the easement would go. that was given up. Somebody told me that they had relinquished the easement, which is something that never happens. Once you have it right away or easement, keep it for in perpetuity, but someone, I'm not remembering who told me that, but that they had actually it may not even be a possibility anymore. Plus it doesn't, I don't know. It's just those people that have the land over there, they would not like it. If I own that land, I would not want it turned, it's a nice little road. Now it's gonna be a major thoroughfare. Yeah, I think that's pretty. That would, unless they get bought out where you do that thing where you dispose of.
Maybe they could build another bridge, have a couple bridges
Yeah.
going across.
Eminent domain. So that one scored a lot of points. It was mentioned a lot to be done, but can of worms.
Would you mind reading those numbers to me again? I've got
Oh.
A13 and then C3. What were the rest?
Policy number 2. And synergies number 6 and 7.
So action 13, policy 2, synergy 6, synergy 7, and contingency 3.
Right. Contingency 3 is the one with the truck.
Good to
Those
know.
were all of them. There was a couple that had 13s also, so those are the top ones. There were at least 15 or more votes. Oh, actually 14 for the tourism strategies, whatever. I had,
Mhm.
those are the top scores. But then, I don't know if we have any more discussion on that part, but the second set of questions that you mentioned, I do have.
Well, the last two that weren't really touched on the first one are, well, any other recommendations, I guess that's not really applicable, but are there any items in the comprehensive plan that you think the city of Sylvania should incorporate into land use management plan? And I guess maybe from your suggestions, it's just really considering recreation and tourism and how to bring people in. Is that a fair
much work been done
takeaway?
on that yet? The land use management plan?
Yes, the first draft, really fairly rough draft was presented to the council on the 27th. And they're going to they're waiting until the elections is finalized. And then we'll meet again and ask for 2 council members to join a staff member on a committee to just be able to work through those pieces individually before it's presented again as a big plan. And that might be something great. If any of you guys are interested in being a part of, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to have you. We have all the properties are now listed along with their worth and, just what we know about them at the moment. The big background piece that I still need to work on is how they were each acquired and if there are any restrictions. So it just takes time. That's something that I'm working on. And then just going through each section to make more of a list or a table of what assets the city really needs to hold on to right now. We're not focused on, ones to maybe consider in the future and the ones that can be done now. Because, they want to consider any direction with those properties. So it's just kind of getting them into that plan. So if you're interested,
Is that a
Let me know.
contractor that's doing it or?
it's
Yeah.
staff. It's me.
So you are focused on this, like there's policy number 2 is city asset use management and disposal. It sounds like that's really what this management plan is kind of looking at.
Yeah, I
Actual
mean,
City land and.
yeah.
It's not this big overall thing.
Exactly. It's all the city lands. And then I have it in my notes. It's not formalized yet, but that's my hope from the takeaway from the council is that we actually have a disposal page that talks about, the process that they want to take if they are going to dispose land in the future. Because I've heard them bring up, wanting to have contingencies attached to properties that development will take place. That things will be done with that land to benefit future generations if it is disposed of, or if there's ways to lease and then have it be developed to just different, ideas of not necessarily just selling land and then having it swap into somebody's hands and then nothing be done with it. So how does the city encourage development and use of those assets? So definitely would love more input. Okay. So I think if you guys are happy with that discussion, those are some good takeaways. It sounded like you were maybe ready to go on to the commission insights on what would be a sustainable way to ensure the comprehensive plan is reviewed and taken into consideration on an annual basis. And what would be a format or method you would recommend in order to make this review happen? If you have any ideas, and you don't have to answer those now, but just something to consider, as time goes, if something comes to you, that'd be great. Because this was a lot.
Yeah, well, it was hard for me, I think I've expressed that before, to go from these actions, policies, whatever, and then what the actual plan is saying, the goals, environmental goals. It just seems like to review the future, rather than tie it back into all those things, actions, policies, just say what you did to implement or to further that goal. Because it may not be one of these things. It might be, the pavilion, I don't think was something that was an action item anywhere, but the pavilion it was brought up as a way that the city has met this goal, but yet that didn't tie in any of these words here. It was, yeah. I don't know. I'm expressing myself, but it was really hard to.
No, that's a great example, especially the pavilion, because there's many times it's talked about increasing water routes and the waterfront, and I'm just light bulb moment that the pavilion would have been a great mention because it is part of the water trail. That's how it was able to come into to be, is that it's part, it's access for people that are coming off of that water trail. The scenic byway.
Yeah, and the harbor supports that kind of stuff too.
Mhm.
It's just not necessarily.
No, I think it'd be good to have the planning commission get over with the city council too, to see what their take is on stuff. Everybody we have a meeting with them, so we'll see where their direction is, what we can do to help, maybe simplify things, put things in action. I love to talk about things, but I like to see stuff be able to come into effect.
That last thing
Annual meeting or something, even, an annual, maybe
Yeah.
2 annual meetings, one in the midwinter and then one in the spring or one at the end of the year, and see how things work, whatever works out.
Mhm.
All right, what did we do to accomplish these things? What we can do in the planning and zoning to help accomplish things?
Great suggestion. Okay. And then if that's the discussion for right now, and I'm sure as things come up, you can let me know, because the next step will then be to draft a letter. And I don't want whoever gets nominated or appointed to draft the letter and present to council. I don't want you to think you're on your own. I'm here to help. We can sit down and do it together, or you can work on it and bring it to me and we can flush it out. Or if you want to do it on your own, you're more than welcome to, but I don't want whoever it is to feel like they're not supported. I have, notes from all these discussions and the minutes, and I'm certainly here as an asset and resource. So we're not trying to throw you out there to sink or swim. But that would be, I guess, the last real step in this process here, for being able to present to council is just to appoint a lead to work on drafting that letter and then presenting to council. And if you guys want, it is when we were thinking that there would be a meeting in September. The thought was that the letter could be drafted and then brought back to the commission at the next meeting to review and discuss, and if there's anything added or needed to be added, then that could be the next discussion and then taken to council. Or if you guys just, want to give somebody the freedom to go ahead, it's up to you. If you want to bring it back, or if you just want to give that person the freedom and room to just move forward with it. I would throw that out there too, because I know it's been a long process.
I guess what it's showing in my little cheat sheet here is that we need a motion to appoint a commissioner to draft a letter. Is that something? Oh, first of all, sorry. Member of the public wishes to speak on this item, which you don't have. So we need a motion. I think anybody willing to do this? Want to jump up and down and do the letter? Anybody dying to do that, Roger or Tom?
I don't feel I'm experienced enough yet. Sure, I would absolutely.
Do you have anybody you want to nominate?
I'm not a volunteering type of person. I mean, I volunteer, but I don't volunteer with people. So no, I did that in the military for 2 years.
You volunteered.
I've voluntold other people. Yeah. You were going to do it.
Roger, do you have any interest in writing a letter?
Not really. I'm basically illiterate when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I
Okay.
don't think I'd be much of a positive on the letter writing.
I haven't done letters for 6 years since I've been retired, but probably could still figure it out.
I'm
Like
more
I
than,
said, with all your.
yeah, I'm more than happy to help.
So I guess a motion that Commissioner Ryan will draft a letter with the help of city clerk and manager to present the findings that we've discussed tonight. And present to the city council at an upcoming meeting. Not yet. I don't think we should determine the date on that. I guess that's a motion that I put out there on my own behalf. Is that all right? It's pretty.
I second that. Thank you.
I third it.
Yeah.
So is there any more discussion on that? Oh, yeah, the date. So we are here now. It's early October. That's in a couple weeks. So maybe by the next meeting, we could do that. Everybody, the commission,
Mhm.
look at it before to the council. I think I would.
Yeah, look at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, would you like to have a roll call vote on the motion, even though we had three affirmatives? We can do that just real quick. That would be, that's our order here. Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Forsberg,
Yes.
and Mr. Dietrich.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Ryan. Motion passes.
All right, now we're moving on to I, staff reports.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I let the commission know that all of the hard work done in this last year has been incorporated into Title 17 and Title 18. That was the building permit review process is now the same process for 17 and 18, that the city manager has the final say for building permit approval, but the commission will still review it. And the building permit application itself was updated along with the flow chart, and those were provided in your guys's binders. Everybody was great about bringing their binders into the city. So you have the updated Title 17, Title 18, and building permit and flow chart for an example. So if you guys have any questions on that, let me know. I did get those footnotes
Oh, okay.
fixed. So thank you, Ms. Ryan. And moving right along.
So item J, informational items not requiring action. There are none. Comments of the public. Item H. Any members of the public?
No members of the public at this time.
L, comments of the commission. Comments of the commission. So Roger, Tom, Roger, do you have any comments for tonight's meeting or just in general? That's the point of the meeting we're at.
No, I pretty well talked everything out, so I think we're moving forward positively. That's the important thing.
And Tom, do you have any comments?
No, that's good work. Well, I guess one, I'd love to talk to one when we figure out who the new city council is. Definitely. I'm meeting with them, so I'm up there. Working with them in the city, whatever we can do. Make one of our meetings here, actually, they can come and sit on ours, get more vice versa. So it'd be a good solid meeting being actually the council members going to enact a lot of this stuff. So just look at it from them, look at it from us.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for participating tonight and not belaboring things, I guess, and kind of move through things pretty fast. I also would like to share this role as being the chair of this planning commission, because Heidi produces this sheet here that steps you through being in my role here, and it makes it pretty, I don't have to know all these Robert's rules or whatever, all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to make that opportunity available if anybody else wanted to have this experience. Since,
That'd be fun.
here, and that way maybe we can make a more informed decision on who actually is our chair, and we'll get more people that then we would know who really can run the meeting with the most smooth and authority and whatever else you need to run a
You're
meeting.
doing a good job.
Oh, you don't.
Gotta move my hands around a little
Yeah.
bit.
It's good teamwork here. Everybody's here to help.
All right. Appreciate it. An idea that I had. I appreciate everybody coming and participating. So I gotta look at my sheet now where we are at. Most exciting part. Next meeting is scheduled for November 3rd, 2021. I think they can make that. hopefully. So now we are at item number 9, which is the motion to adjourn.
A second.
Gotta say so moved first.
No, sorry. See, I need to do that.
Oh,
one
yes.
time. All the more reason.
Okay. So you say, you have said that, so moved.
Yes,
Okay. So, oh, then I say so
there you
ordered.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, we're adjourned.
I'll
Thank
help
you, guys. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You guys have a good